We're joined today by Richard Marcus, casino table game protection consultant and founder of the Global Game Protection and Table Games Conference. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure, Kelsey. Thank you.
I want to delve right in. You do have a reputation. You've been called the world's most famous casino cheater. What does it take to be a perfect casino cheat? Is it charm? Is it skill? Is it tech?
Actually, the charm of the skill is more important than the tech. The tech is only if you're specifically a high-tech cheater, which the vast majority of professional cheats are not. The three ingredients, I like to say ingredients, of becoming or being a professional casino cheat, a successful one, are: one, brains, intelligence; two, balls, courage, lack of fear; three, and is equally important as the other two, lack of greed, knowing when to stop. That's in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Well, you managed to do this for 25 years without ever being charged with a crime. That's incredibly impressive. How much was the most that you ever won or lost?
I guess you could call it one, even though it's cheated. In one night, let's say in one night, with various moves, cheating moves, in between 130 and 150,000 in one night. That was the best night ever, and it was a New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. And New Year's Eve is perennially the best night for casino cheats to work, because there's so much action and there's so much people are partying and everybody's happy in a good mood. So that New Year's Eve was always the best.
Now, we know that you had a massive run throughout Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and also within Europe. But I have to ask you, have you ever cheated at a casino in Asia?
Absolutely not. And I have no, I don't really miss the cheating that much, but I often say to myself, man, because I retired from cheating at 2000, in the year 2000, New Year's Eve, 1999 to 2000, and during the day when I was cheating, it was a different situation in Macau. It was Portuguese run, and it was really run by the triad, Stanley Ho and all those people. So they had a fierce reputation of dealing with cheats in a very, let's say, hard way, and such as chopping hands off or whatever. To what extent that was true, I don't know, but I didn't want to find out. And there were no other markets or jurisdictions in Asia where they really had that much action. So never did.
It's interesting you mentioned that third component being a lack of greed. I know that a lot of people who have seen your story, have heard your story, and have seen you speak before are always wondering, how did you walk away? Why did you decide to walk away at that point?
I was known for this particular move in Savannah, called Savannah. And it was, I'm not going to get into the mechanics of the move, but it was such a devastating move. And I actually was able to use surveillance unwittingly to help me. The cameras actually helped me cheat. We were just killing them in Las Vegas, especially every weekend. We'd go out Friday, Saturday night, Sunday. We'd make $50,000, $80,000 every week doing this move. And they knew it was me. And and the surveillance, the cameras were telling them I was not cheating. And obviously they knew I was cheating. They just couldn't figure out how. And the heat got so much, I had so much heat, that I finally realized one time after doing that particular move for 8 months in Las Vegas alone, after some $2 or $3 million in profits, they refused to pay me. And at that point, I started to realize, hey, this is getting a little sticky here. And besides that, I would travel around the world, and I was a cheater, not a liar. So we would be in bars, like we'd be in the Caribbean, and we'd be celebrating our big day, our big night at the casino, 2, 3 in the morning. We'd be out at bars drinking and everything, and people would come up, and sometimes people would get into conversation and say, what do you do? And I knew I wasn't talking to anybody in the casino industry, and I say, I'm a casino cheat. And they go, wow, really? And I would tell stories. And, a lot of people didn't believe it, but those who did said, wow, that's amazing. You ought to write a book about it. So take the, I always heard that 5 or 6 times. People said, you ought to write a book about that. So when I started to get all this tremendous heat in Las Vegas from the Savannah move, I decided that, hey, this is a good time to pack it all in. I was pushing that envelope a little too far, maybe. And I had something to do now, write a book, which I did. And that's how I stopped.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you ever at any point kind of look back and calculate exactly how much money you made, not only from the Savannah move, but in your earlier career as well?
Uh, okay, made and kept. Actually, I should say gross revenue versus net income. Because when you do this, you're traveling all over the world in peak season. Wherever you go, it's peak season, and you're paying $300-400 a night for hotel rooms and the airfares and all that without any 2 week advance purchase of tickets. Because when you're doing this kind of stuff, I could be, let's say, in the Bahamas, and we don't know how long we're going to be there because we might take heat, and then they're going to Europe and this and that. So, and you have to remember 25 years. So if I throw a number at you as to how much money we actually cheated casinos out of, it could be close to 20 million. How much did I actually keep? There were 4 or 5 of us at all times. How much did I actually keep? Put it to you this way, enough where I don't have to do what I'm doing, which is consulting to casinos and running a gaming conference. But a few million, let's say, I managed to bank.
Not too shabby. I mean, you took that classic move that you learned of the chip switch out on the win, and you reversed it into something completely new, which was the Savannah move, in which you guaranteed that you were going to get the win by putting the chocolates on the bottom, so the higher value chip on the bottom and then the lower value chips on top, so that, like you were mentioning, the surveillance would actually work in your favor. Looking at what is happening now within casino gaming, what is the most common type of cheating?
The most common type of cheating is always going to be chip manipulation. It always was. It is now. It always will be in the future, unless and until casinos remove chips from casinos. And chip manipulation means you either increase your bet when you win, decrease your bet when you lose, or actually switching bets out when you win and when you lose, which is what the Savannah was, switching the chips out when you lost. So it's always about chip manipulation, and by far.
There's going to be a lot of changes which happen with that because, with RFID technology and how they're tracing each individual chips at each individual table, I'm sure they're going to eliminate some of the more old school operations, at least within the more advanced casino operations. But do you think that there's any style which has been completely eliminated due to this advance of technology?
To your point about RFID chips, it wouldn't eliminate as much as you think. And that's in spite of the fact that very few casinos around the world you actually use them. The thing is, with any kind of high technology, all it does, RFID included, all it does is give information. It's what the people who are getting the information, how they use it, and how they use that to protect cheaters, very capable cheaters of doing what they do, and including chip manipulation. Now, for instance, to give you a quick example of that, I could go into a casino that has RFID chips, right? And I can do a move, bet, let's say, 2 black chips for $200. And then after I win, switch in a $5,000 chip underneath with a black chip on top for $5,100 and claim the dealer paid me wrong. Now, the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, the monitor will have picked that up, that there was a change in the bet. But what if I set them up before? What if I was at another table? What if I was at a baccarat table right next to that blackjack table, and I was betting $5,000 a hand or $3,000 a hand on player, and I had my partners offsetting me on bank? In other words, betting $3,000 on bank. So it looks like I'm winning or losing, $3,000 to $5,000 a hand, but I'm really more or less breaking even minus the house percentage of 1.5%. So I show them a bunch of action, for 15, 20 minutes, and maybe we lose a couple of $100 on the house edge. And then I go to the blackjack table, and I'm friendly. I'm tipping the dealers, and I say, "Hey, you paid me wrong." And guess what, Kelsey? They don't even look at the monitor because they've been sold by psychology. Psychology and the human element overcomes everything, all technology.
That was one of the huge advantages of one of your partners when you were primarily doing Vegas as well. Was it Pat Malone? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So I mean that was the charm factor. That was what came into play. At least that's what I've heard. So given that charm and the manipulation of psychology, how difficult is it really to spot a cheater? And are, for example, it seems like the dealers are the first line of defense against this. Are they actually trained well enough to be able to identify and not be lured in to that psychological appeal?
No, there is a gross lack of training in casinos all over the world, especially in Macau. Now, I've never been to Macau, but I've read about what's going on, all the baccarat scams coming out of there. A lot, and it's almost always in collusion with players. And the reason this happens is because, we can talk about dealers and supervisors. If the supervisors are not in on the scam, which in Macau that happens often enough, that they don't know what to watch, they don't know what to look for. They don't, there's so much action. There's so few supervisors. The ratio of supervisors per table is so low. One supervisor is watching maybe 4 or 8 games, where in Europe and in some casinos there's a supervisor on every table. And the dealers need to be trained. Not only they need to know the moves, they need to learn something about the moves, not just quote unquote how to protect the tables by where you stand, how you move, how you don't turn your head, that kind of stuff. They need to learn the moves. And a big problem is that a lot of casinos are afraid to give the dealers that knowledge, because they think that if a dealer has knowledge of cheating moves, and there's always a few bad apples, the vast majority of dealers, 99% and higher, maybe that ratio is a little lower in Macau, are honest. Okay. What happens, what the casinos don't realize, the people making these decisions, and they're afraid to, they don't realize that if somebody wants to cheat on the inside, if a dealer wants to cheat, you're going to get cheated. What training or no training, you're going to get cheated. Okay. So the thing is that most casinos around the world that I've trained at, they train the dealers and they train the floor people and surveillance separately, because they don't want them to even, have any interaction, which is ridiculous. Because if they're on the same page in the long run, they're going to save a lot more money by protecting games from being cheated versus that tiny small percentage of dealers who are eventually going to cheat the casino in collusion with players. But it's much to the favor of the casinos to increase the training to both surveillance and floor people together.
Looking overall, what should these operators be trying to be on the lookout for? Is it individual operators? You yourself had, I think you worked in a group of 3 people, right? Or
3, 4, or 5 people, depending. Yeah.
So should they be more worried about, the individual one and trying to scan for these groups? Or, I mean, even though it's a lower likelihood, they seem to be able to do more damage over a longer term if they do have somebody on the inside. So what is going to be, the main focus that they should be targeting?
Okay. Virtually all professional cheats work in groups, whereas advantage players, which is a different thing, that's not cheating, there are a lot of lone wolves out there. But as far as the cheating goes, it's almost all teams. Cheating operations, be it low tech or high tech. And by the way, around the world, low tech cheating is still 98, 99% of all cheating is low tech, not high tech, not high tech. Well, we just hear about high tech scams, the ones, and most of them are a lot of them are out of Asia, because they take so much money at one shot. But if you take the cheating percentage, it's much more low tech. So all these, whether it be whatever game it is, it's always in a team, and each person in the team has a function. I used to run my teams like a military operation. It's kind of like, think of how the United States got Bin Laden in Pakistan. That each person has a function. You have the transportation to get there, you have the drop at the compound, and then you have the guys that go in and get them and all that stuff. It's the same thing in a casino operation. One person is responsible. If it's let's say it's a roulette, okay. If one person is responsible for being the mechanics, switching the chips, or pass faulting, it's called, adding a $100 chip to a straight up on a number. Another person's job is to claim the move. If the person who does the mechanicking, that's the person who switches the chips, is called a mechanic. The person who does that is never the person that claims the money. Somebody else does. And then you have two other people called chip bettors. And what they do is they bet chips in order to facilitate the move by the mechanic, because their betting patterns controls the dealer's movements. Then you have another guy, say it would be me, say outside the table, surveillance and security. A good professional cheating team has their own surveillance and their own security, and they have to be better than what the casino has, because if the casino gets beat for a move, all right, so they lose some money. If a cheat team gets caught, they're facing all kinds of problems. If they get caught and actually arrested, they're facing jail, they're facing legal expenses and all that. So, we as cheaters, we can't get caught. So if one person in this military operation, if that function fails, the whole move falls like a stack of dominoes. Yeah. So that's it's always teams. So they should be on the lookout for teams. And a good point to make quickly is, once a casino stumbles onto somebody or has advanced knowledge that there's a cheater in the casino, and they actually see they actually catch the move, the cheating, they should not react too quickly. They should, see what else is going on. Are there other people involved? The cheat might go to another table, and then you might find out dealers are involved. So it's very important to always think that.
Looking at during your heyday in regards to cheating, and in terms of now, what was your favorite game to play, and would that still be true today?
Okay, good question. My favorite game to cheat at was always roulette. Cheating roulette was, you being a person in the arts would appreciate the word choreographed. Cheating roulette was like a choreographed dance. It was an art. The movement, the psychology involved, the setup. And every professional cheating move has a setup. Unless it's high tech and they don't need it. They're just filming the order of the cards. But it really was like an art. I never even looked at it. I knew what I was doing, but I looked at it as an art more than cheating.
Thank you so much, Richard Marcus, the world's most famous casino cheater and now a casino table games protection consultant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Kelsey.